I stood in my kitchen this morning, staring at the empty hook where my car keys should have been. My hands trembled as I searched through every drawer, every pocket, every surface. The familiar knot of anxiety twisted in my stomach. Not again. Rachel, James, have you seen my keys anywhere? My voice echoed through our pristine suburban home, the kind of house that looked perfect from the outside, the kind of life that everyone envied. James, Rachel, honey, you left them right here on the counter. His voice carried that subtle tone I'd grown to recognize. Patient, understanding, concerned. He appeared in the doorway, holding my keys with a gentle smile that never quite reached his eyes. James, remember you put them down right here when you came back from grocery shopping yesterday. I stared at the spot where he pointed. I would never leave my keys there. Never. I always hung them on the hook by the door. Always. Rachel, I don't remember putting them there. James, you've been under a lot of stress lately. Sweetheart, it's completely normal to forget little things like this. He walked over and wrapped his arms around me. His embrace felt suffocating rather than comforting. James, maybe you should talk to someone about this. Professional help might really benefit you. Those words hit me like ice water. Professional help. He'd been suggesting that more and more lately. Every time I couldn't find something, every time I questioned a conversation we'd had, every time reality didn't match what he told me. The sound of little feet running down the stairs broke through my thoughts. Sophie, Mommy, Daddy, I'm ready for school. My 8-year-old daughter bounced into the kitchen, her backpack bouncing with her. Her smile was the only genuine thing in this house anymore. Rachel, good morning, sweetheart. Did you eat breakfast? Sophie, Daddy made me cereal. He said you were still sleeping. I glanced at the clock. 7:30 in the morning. I'd been awake since 6, making coffee, checking emails. But according to James, I'd been sleeping. James, you were tossing and turning all night. Honey, I thought it was better to let you rest. His hand touched my shoulder possessively. James, Sophie, why don't you go brush your teeth? Mommy and I need to talk. Sophie skipped away, oblivious to the tension crackling between her parents. The moment she disappeared upstairs, James's expression shifted. The gentle concern melted away like ice in summer. James, Rachel, I'm really worried about you. These memory lapses are getting worse. My heart pounded against my ribs. Rachel, I don't have memory lapses. James, I remember exactly where I put those keys. James, sweetheart, denial is the first sign that something serious might be happening. Maybe it's early onset dementia. Your grandmother did have Alzheimer's, didn't she? The words hit me like physical blows. My grandmother, yes, she'd suffered from Alzheimer's. But I was 37 years old, healthy, sharp. Wasn't I? Rachel, there's nothing wrong with my memory. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Had I really put those keys on the hook? Had I been sleeping when Sophie ate breakfast? Was I losing my mind? James, I love you, Rachel. That's why I'm concerned. I've already called Dr. Peterson's office. They can see you this afternoon. My blood ran cold. Rachel, you made me a doctor's appointment without asking. James, I'm your husband. I'm looking out for your well-being. Isn't that what marriage means? His voice had taken on that edge I'd learned to fear. The edge that meant arguing would only make things worse. Rachel, Okay, if you think it's necessary. James, good girl. He kissed my forehead, and I felt like I was drowning. The rest of the morning passed in a haze. I dropped Sophie at school, drove to the grocery store, went through the motions of normal life, but nothing felt normal anymore. Nothing felt real. At the grocery store, I ran into my neighbor, Linda. Linda, Rachel, you look tired. Everything okay? I wanted to tell her, wanted to scream that something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on what. Rachel, just been having trouble sleeping. You know how it is. Linda, James mentioned you've been having some health concerns, memory issues. My world tilted. James had been talking to the neighbors about my supposed memory problems. Rachel, he said that. Linda. Oh, honey, don't be embarrassed. These things happen. My aunt went through something similar. The important thing is getting help early. I mumbled something about being late and fled to my car. My hands shook as I gripped the steering wheel. James was painting a picture of me to everyone we knew, a picture of a woman losing her mind. That afternoon, I sat in Dr. Peterson's sterile office, answering questions about my memory, my sleep patterns, my stress levels. He prescribed mild anxiety medication and suggested I consider counseling. Dr. Peterson, there's nothing physically wrong with you, Mrs. Carter, but stress can manifest in many ways. A therapist might help you develop better coping strategies. I left his office with a business card for Dr. Ellen Hayes, a therapist specializing in women's mental health. Something inside me told me to make that appointment, not because I was losing my mind, but because I needed someone neutral to help me figure out what was really happening. 2 weeks later, I sat across from Dr. Hayes in her warm, sunlit office. She had kind eyes and the sort of presence that made you want to tell the truth. Dr. Hayes, tell me what brought you here today. Rachel. My husband thinks I'm having memory problems, maybe early dementia. I'm starting to wonder if he's right. Dr. Hayes, can you give me some specific examples? I told her about the keys, about conversations James claimed we'd had that I couldn't remember, about money missing from our savings account that he insisted I'd spent on things I'd never bought, about feeling like I was going crazy in my own home. Dr. Hayes listened without judgment, taking notes. Dr. Hayes, Rachel, have you ever heard the term gaslighting? Rachel, no. What does that mean? Dr. Hayes, it's a form of psychological manipulation where someone makes you question your own memory, perception, and sanity. It's named after a play where a husband manipulates his wife by dimming the gas lights and then denying that the lights have changed. The room seemed to spin around me. Rachel, you think James is doing that to me? Dr. Hayes, I think you should start documenting everything. Keep a journal, take photos, record conversations if you need to. Trust your instincts. Rachel, they're probably more accurate than you realize. That night, I started a secret journal. I hid it inside an old photo album James never looked at. I began writing down every strange incident, every conversation that didn't feel right, every time something went missing only to reappear somewhere I'd never put it. The pattern became clear within days. Keys moved from hooks to counters. Important documents disappeared from my filing system. Money vanished from accounts James had access to. Conversations I clearly remembered were denied or twisted. 2 weeks into my documentation, I found something that changed everything. I was cleaning out an old jewelry box when I discovered bank statements I'd never seen before. Statements showing large transfers from my inheritance account to an investment fund I'd never heard of. My grandmother had left me a substantial sum when she died. Money I'd planned to use for Sophie's college fund, according to these statements. It was disappearing chunk by chunk. I confronted James that evening after Sophie went to bed. Rachel, James, I found these bank statements. Can you explain these transfers? His face went pale for just a moment before the familiar mask of concern slipped back into place. James, Rachel, we talked about this investment opportunity months ago. You were so excited about it. Don't you remember? Rachel, no. James, I would never agree to invest Sophie's college money without discussing it thoroughly. James, honey, you're doing it again. The memory thing. You signed all the paperwork yourself. Look, here's your signature. He pulled out documents from his briefcase. My signature was there, but something about it looked wrong. The loops were too tight. The slant was different. Rachel, I didn't sign these papers, James. James, Rachel, this is exactly what Dr. Peterson was worried about. These memory gaps are getting more serious. Maybe it's time we considered that inpatient evaluation he mentioned. Inpatient evaluation. He wanted to have me committed. Rachel, I'm not crazy, James. James, no one's saying you're crazy, sweetheart, but you need help, professional help, the kind you can't get living at home. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my husband, the man I'd loved and trusted for 10 years, and realized I was living with a stranger, a dangerous stranger who was systematically stealing my money and my sanity. The next morning, I took Sophie to school and drove straight to an electronics store. I bought the smallest recording device I could find and a tiny hidden camera. If James was manipulating me, I was going to catch him in the act. I placed the camera in the living room, hidden behind a picture frame where it could capture the kitchen and entryway. The recording device went in my purse, always ready. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then, on Thursday morning, I got my proof. I deliberately placed my keys on the hook before going upstairs to shower. When I came back down, they were gone. I turned on my phone to record and began searching. Rachel, James, have you seen my car keys? I know I put them on the hook. James, let me help you look for them, honey. I watched him walk directly to the kitchen counter and find them in a spot I'd already searched twice. James, here they are, sweetheart, right where you left them. But I had it all on recording. His voice, my confusion, and most importantly, my clear statement that I'd put them on the hook. That afternoon, I reviewed the hidden camera footage. There it was, clear as day. James taking my keys off the hook and placing them on the counter, then practicing his concerned husband expression in the mirror. My hands trembled as I watched him rehearse his manipulation. This wasn't absent-mindedness or stress-related memory loss. This was calculated psychological abuse. I saved the footage to a flash drive and made backup copies. Then I called Dr. Hayes. Dr. Hayes, Rachel, you need to understand that what you've discovered is evidence of serious emotional abuse. You should consider involving law enforcement. Rachel, but what about Sophie James as her father? And everyone thinks I'm the one with problems. Dr. Hayes, that's exactly why you need to document everything and build a strong case. The truth will come out, but you need to be smart about how you handle this. She gave me the contact information for Officer Mark Daniels, a detective who specialized in financial crimes and domestic abuse. She also connected me with a lawyer who could help protect my assets and my parental rights. Meeting Officer Daniels felt like the first breath of fresh air I'd had in months. He was direct, professional, and he believed me. Officer Daniels, Mrs. Carter. What you're describing is a pattern we see more often than you'd think. Psychological manipulation combined with financial fraud. We'll need to build a solid case, but what you've collected so far is a good start. He helped me set up a secure email account and taught me how to safely document everything. We reviewed the bank statements, the forged signatures, the video evidence. Officer Daniels, your husband has been systematically transferring your inheritance into investment accounts he controls. That's theft, Mrs. Carter, and the psychological manipulation is domestic abuse. For the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't losing my mind. I was being deliberately driven to the edge by someone who was supposed to love and protect me. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered more evidence. I discovered that James had taken out a second mortgage on our house without my knowledge, using forged documents. I found emails between him and his business partner discussing how much longer they could milk the situation before I figured it out. I recorded phone conversations where he discussed having me committed to gain full control of my assets. The smoking gun came from an unexpected source, Sophie. One evening, she was playing with her toys in the living room while I cooked dinner. Out of nowhere, she said something that made my blood run cold. Sophie, Mommy, why does Daddy hide your keys every morning? I nearly dropped the pan I was holding. Rachel, what do you mean, sweetheart? Sophie, I saw him take them off the hook and put them in his pocket. Then he put them on the counter before you came downstairs. He told me it was a game, but you always look sad when you can't find them. My 8-year-old daughter had witnessed her father's manipulation. She'd seen the whole thing and thought it was a game. That night, after James fell asleep. I sat with Sophie and gently asked her more questions. She told me about conversations she'd overheard, about phone calls where Daddy talked about the plan and making Mommy think she's sick, about papers she'd seen him practicing my signature on. She didn't understand what any of it meant, but her innocent observations provided the final pieces of the puzzle. I knew I had to act before James escalated his plan. Officer Daniels had warned me that men like my husband often became dangerous when they felt their control slipping. The opportunity came sooner than expected. James announced that he was organizing a charity fundraiser for a local children's hospital, a big event with all our friends, neighbors, and his business associates, the perfect platform for his public image as the concerned husband of a mentally ill wife. James, I'm hoping this event will raise awareness about mental health issues. People need to understand what families like ours go through. He was planning to use the fundraiser to publicly cement the narrative of my mental illness, to gather sympathy and support for his eventual decision to have me committed. But I had other plans. The week before the fundraiser, I met with Officer Daniels and my lawyer one final time. We reviewed all the evidence video footage, audio recordings, bank statements, forged documents, witness testimony from Sophie. Officer Daniels, we have enough to file charges for fraud, forgery, and domestic abuse. Are you ready to move forward? Rachel, yes, but I want to do this my way. At the fundraiser, in front of everyone who thinks I'm losing my mind. My lawyer looked concerned. Lawyer Rachel, that's risky. If James feels cornered, he could become unpredictable. Rachel, he's been making me feel cornered for months. It's time to turn the tables. Officer Daniels, we'll have backup ready, but remember, the goal is to expose the truth safely, not to put you in danger. The night of the fundraiser arrived. I wore a blue dress James had bought me, styled my hair the way he preferred, and played the part of the grateful wife one last time. Our house was filled with people from our community, friends, neighbors, James's business associates, local politicians, everyone who mattered in our social circle. James stood at the front of our living room, commanding attention as always. James, thank you all for coming tonight. This cause is especially close to our hearts because my wife Rachel has been struggling with some serious health challenges lately. He gestured toward me with practiced concern. James, mental health issues can strike anyone. At any age, Rachel has been experiencing memory loss, confusion, and episodes that have been frightening for our whole family. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the crowd. I saw Linda nodding sadly. I saw our friends looking at me with pity. James, but we're not giving up. We're exploring every treatment option, including some residential programs that specialize in early-onset cognitive disorders. Residential programs. He was publicly setting up my commitment. James, that's why tonight's fundraiser is so important. We need to support research into these devastating conditions that tear families apart. The crowd applauded. I stood up slowly, my hands steady for the first time in months. Rachel, actually, James, I think it's time we told everyone the real truth about what's been happening in our family. James's face went pale. The room fell silent. Rachel, you see, I haven't been losing my memory at all. I've been documenting everything, and what I've discovered is that my husband has been systematically manipulating me, stealing my inheritance, and planning to have me committed so he could take control of all my assets. Gasps echoed through the room. James's mask finally slipped completely. James, Rachel, you're having an episode. Everyone can see you're not well. Rachel, let me show everyone just how unwell I really am. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the TV screen James had set up for his presentation. The first video began playing. James moving my keys from the hook to the counter. James practicing his concerned expression. James on the phone discussing his plan to drive me crazy. The room erupted in shocked whispers. James, this is fabricated. She's doctored these videos. Can't you see how sick she is? Rachel, then let's look at some bank statements. Shall we? I displayed the forged documents, the unauthorized transfers, the evidence of fraud. Rachel, or perhaps you'd like to hear the recorded phone conversation where you and your business partner discuss how much longer you can milk the situation before I figure out you've stolen my inheritance. I played the audio. James's voice filled the room, clear and undeniable. James on recording. She's getting suspicious about the bank statements. We might need to move up the timeline for getting her committed. Business partner on recording. How much more can you transfer before she notices? James on recording. Maybe another 50,000 after that. We'll need her out of the picture completely. The room was dead silent. James stood frozen, his face a mask of panic and rage. Officer Daniels stepped forward from where he'd been waiting in the kitchen. Officer Daniels. James Carter, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, theft, and domestic abuse. As the handcuffs clicked around James's wrists, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders that I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. The crowd stared in stunned silence as their charming host was led away in handcuffs. Linda approached me, tears in her eyes. Linda, Rachel, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. We believed him when he said you were sick. Rachel, that's exactly what he wanted you to think. Gaslighting works because it isolates the victim. It makes everyone believe the abuser's version of reality. Over the next few weeks, the truth spread through our community like wildfire. James's business collapsed as investors pulled out. His real estate license was revoked. He faced multiple charges that would likely result in years in prison. I filed for divorce and full custody of Sophie. With all the evidence I'd gathered, James's lawyer advised him not to contest either. The money he'd stolen was returned to my accounts. The forged mortgage was declared invalid. Our house, our life, our future belonged to me and Sophie again. But the most important victory was something you couldn't see in bank statements or legal documents. It was the moment I trusted my own memory again. The moment I stopped questioning my own sanity. The moment I remembered who I really was. Dr. Hayes continued to see me through the transition, helping me rebuild my confidence and sense of self. Dr. Hayes, you did something incredibly brave. Rachel, not just exposing James, but trusting yourself enough to fight back. Rachel, I almost didn't. There were so many times I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I was losing my mind. Dr. Hayes, that's the insidious nature of gaslighting. It makes you doubt your most basic perceptions, but you found your way back to the truth. 3 months after the fundraiser, I started a blog called Trust Your Truth. I shared my story and began connecting with other women who'd experienced similar manipulation. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of women reached out, sharing their own stories of psychological abuse. I realized that what had happened to me wasn't unique. It was a pattern that played out in homes across the country, women being told they were crazy, forgetful, or unstable by the very people who were supposed to love them. I started a support group that met weekly in Dr. Hayes' office. We called ourselves the Truth Tellers, a group of women committed to trusting our own experiences and supporting each other's healing. Sophie adjusted remarkably well to our new life. Without the constant tension and manipulation in our home, she blossomed. Her grades improved. Her smile came back. She stopped asking why Mommy looked sad all the time. One evening, 6 months after James's arrest, Sophie and I were working in our garden. We'd torn up the perfectly manicured lawn James had insisted on and planted wildflowers and vegetables. The garden was chaotic, colorful, and completely imperfect. It was beautiful. Sophie, Mommy, I like our house better now. Rachel, why is that, sweetheart? Sophie, it feels happy, and you don't lose your keys anymore. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. Rachel, no baby. I don't lose my keys anymore because I know exactly where I put them. Sophie, and Daddy can't play his hiding game anymore. Rachel, no, he can't, and he never will again. We sat in our garden as the sun set, surrounded by the chaos and beauty of our new life, a life built on truth instead of lies, a life where my memory, my perceptions, and my sanity belonged to me. I thought about all the women who were still living in the fog of manipulation, still questioning their own minds, still believing they were going crazy when they were actually being driven there. That's why I'm telling you this story today, because if you're listening and something feels familiar, if you've been told you're forgetful, unstable, or losing your mind, if things disappear and reappear in places you'd never put them, if your reality never quite matches what you're told happened, trust yourself, document everything, reach out for help. You're not losing your mind. You're not going crazy. You're not too sensitive or too emotional. Your perceptions are valid. Your memories are real. Your truth matters. And if you're ready to share your story, I'd love to hear it. Because every time we speak our truth, we make it harder for the manipulators to operate in shadows. Every time we trust ourselves, we inspire another woman to do the same. Your story matters. Your truth matters. You matter. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. If my story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe for more stories of women who refused to be silenced, who trusted their truth, and who found their way back to themselves. Because the most powerful thing you can do in a world full of people trying to make you doubt yourself is to trust your own mind. Your truth is waiting for you to believe in it. Are you ready to listen?